little different than what we've been doing in the past with the teachings and the worship nights. We are excited to announce plans to welcome you guys back into the building. But there are some precautions we have to take, and just to make sure that we are doing that the right way. So I've got a list of questions that we're going to run through tonight, and Pastor Lyon and I will just be talking back and forth so that you know when we're inviting you back and how to come back the right way. So first question is, why did we stop at all? Why did we ever stop having in-person services?
Yeah, so it's been, 13 weeks? Does that sound right? 13 weeks since we met last. At that point, as you remember, it's been a long time. We were in a place where there was a lot of unknown and a lot of uncertainty, and we weren't really sure what was happening. And so the intention was to slow down, to get our grasp of what's happening in the world and to understand this virus a little bit better. And so in doing so, we thought it was important to stop having in-person services. And so that's really all that changed and all that stopped initially. And it was basically out of a pause to see and understand what exactly was happening. So.
There are some who see that the stop of in-person services as closing the church. What do you say to those who are maybe frustrated or just questioning why the church closed?
Yeah, so I've heard that, and there are those that would say that even to me. Why'd you close the church, or why did the elders close the church? And that's a hard one for me, mostly because there wasn't a time when we closed the church. And if you were to ask the staff, are we busier now than we were before normally? Absolutely. It's one of those things where, the devotions, the outtakes, the Thursday night worship services, the teachings, and then also doing a sermon, and just the energy it takes to kind of produce a message when there isn't a crowd in front of you is really difficult and debilitating. So we haven't closed. I feel like we're still doing the same things, and in fact, we'll talk about this, I hope, in a little bit. I think we've learned some ways in which church, the body of believers, is kind of being transformed. And anyone that says the church is closed perhaps doesn't truly understand the meaning of the word church. It has always been the body of believers. It is always the people and not the steeple. And so the church is still vibrant in the community. Our body of believers is still, I believe, active in doing ministry and discipling and growing. And so those that would make such comments, I do the right thing and I smile and I nod, but I recognize that they don't have a clue what they're talking about. Was that kind and gentle?
Yeah, I think so.
Did you feel the love in that?
I did.
Okay.
I don't know about others.
Yeah, I hope so.
It was meant that way.
Yeah.
So there's been, if you're on social media, this hashtag faith over fear idea. We've used it in some of our own stuff too, faith not fear. And there maybe are some questions about, aren't all these precautions maybe showing that we're actually giving in a little bit to the fear instead of the faith? What do you have to say about that idea?
Yeah, when it first kicked off, I was like, yeah, this is great. But I think that's when we had a true understanding what faith and fear were. But it's taken on this whole nother realm of meaning, and I think that we have to be very careful when we start to use such terms, because I think in some regards, it comes across like a rally cry that says, well, don't you have enough faith, or don't you believe enough that God can protect you from this virus? Don't you believe enough? And I think just even looking at Scripture, we have to be very careful with that, because it's not necessarily a matter of fear even, or faith. It's really a matter of comfort. It's a matter of patience. It's a matter of discernment and wisdom. And so you start thinking about the word faith. What are we actually putting our faith in? Is it the faith that we're going to be okay? Or that there's some kind of fear that something's going to happen to us? I got to tell you, like, if this happens and we happen to contract COVID-19 and something happens to us and we go and pass away, as tragic and as sad that might be, we also recognize that we're going to be in a better place. And so it's never been for us as a church, I don't believe, in staff or for the elders, a fear of getting COVID. And so faith over fear isn't saying, well, if we had more faith, then we wouldn't be afraid. I think there's just two misnomers there. And what is the faith really about, and what is the fear really over? And I'm not even sure it's fear as much as it is caution, as much as it is concern. And we also don't know perhaps what other people are going through. I mean, I know people who have a grandparent that lives nearby, or who has a family member that has comorbidities or some kind of struggles, and it's not fear for them, they're trying to be cautious and responsible for people that they know. And so I just feel like it's a dangerous place to kind of have as a rally cry that says, oh, if we had more faith, or it's not about fear, it's about faith. Okay. I think we missed the mark in that phrase. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts there? I'll turn around you a little bit.
Yeah, I think meeting with staff and elders, like you said, I don't know that we've made any decision throughout this whole thing out of fear in any way. It's been deliberately slow, so that we can spend time in prayer, so that we can spend time discussing things with each other, and checking with people who are in the health field, people who can help us out and have a better idea of what's really going on. And I think also just understanding, even in our church body and throughout our community, there are people who have had very different responses to this. People who have said, never shut down anything, let's go, and others who are still going to stay home and be cautious for a while longer. So it's finding a balance in that, but it's not a lack of faith that has kept us from meeting. It's not this being paralyzed by fear that's kept us from meeting. It is trying to seek God and be wise about when we start things back up. So, a couple churches though already opened. Some 2 to 3 weeks ago. A few more just this last Sunday. Why have we waited so long to start the in-person services again?
Yeah, so that's a question that we're receiving more regularly, and I get it. I was on a call today with a church in Arizona and Texas and North Carolina, and just kind of listening. They've been open for 3 or 4 weeks now, and just kind of hearing what they've been going through, and also kind of understanding, the process of getting back to in-person worship and service, and that's been really helpful for me. I'm a student. I want to understand data. I want to watch. I want to listen. I want to be patient. I want to understand with discernment what God desires. And it's funny because folks throw jabs all the time that say, well, what about in Hebrews 10 when it talks about meeting together? Yeah, I mean, I've studied the text, I've preached the text. The reality of that text is really talking about that we shouldn't stop meeting together from the perspective of caring for one another. We shouldn't stop caring for one another. And I truly believe that even during this time off, we as a body of believers have been caring for one another. We've been trying to. If you don't feel cared for, let me know. I'm happy to pour some love on you. But I feel like there's really an opportunity for us as a church to learn some things during these 13 weeks off. I think it's important that when we do open, we open well with excellence. I don't want to rush into something just because we can get it done and maybe we can be working and we're ready to move forward. I really want to be patient and sort this stuff out. And I'm hoping that our congregation trusts the staff and trusts the elders to kind of process this stuff and discern this stuff. And you have to know, wouldn't know this, we haven't shared this with you, but the elders, we meet regularly. On Monday night, we met at 9 o'clock at night, and we're discussing how to do this and some of the precautions and some of the ways in which to move forward and the proper timeline. And so we decided to put the poll out in the field last week to kind of discern exactly where people were. And that really didn't influence our decisions at all. It more or less was an opportunity for us to kind of get a flavor of where and what our people are thinking. And I think that's really important for us as a church to be able to open well, is to understand where the concerns are, where the precautions are, where the nervousness is, and to above all, as we do meet, it's really important in my heart and my mind that there isn't any shaming at all. So if you're one of those people that say, I'm ready to get back, I've been ready from the beginning, and I've been going around to their churches, and this is what I want to be doing, and I'm all about in-person worship, great. And for the person that says, I'm not quite ready yet, great. And for the person that says, it's going to be a little while, I get it, it's great. it's not a matter where we're saying, well, this person has more faith or more belief than another. It's not how this is. It's that everybody will move through this process in their own time, in their own space, on their own journey back to worship. And we want to love you through that whole circumstance of wherever you are. So you say, why have you paused? What's taken us so long? Well, I want to be a student. I want to see exactly what's going on. Pardon me. I also want to watch how other churches open up and to get some lessons learned, and good and bad from them. And I also want to be very clear that we're discerning the right time and the right space to be opening for our congregation. And so that's kind of what I'm thinking. That's what the elders are thinking. And I feel like we have a pretty good plan in place, and it will be, I believe, well executed. So.
Have we considered going outside for services at all? There's been comments about over here at the school, there's a huge parking lot,
Yep.
Or even, there's not a bad spot right out behind us, the back field out here. So have we thought about that?
Yeah, you know as well as I do, we put it together a letter that went out to the folks that are responsible for the fairgrounds, asking if we could use their space, the fairgrounds, in this season of life that would be open for people. There's also covering for weather, and they weren't comfortable at that time, and I understand that too. So they denied us that request, which is okay. We were also talking about having things out here in the parking lots, trying to talk to the school. And what we kind of came up with was, as we discerned this further, it's going to be really hard to contain and maintain social distances among children in an outside space, because kids are going to roam, talk, do whatever they're going to do, and I think it's a hard way to do that. And so we have thought about it. We've explored it. We've sought out information for it. There are churches that have done the drive-up. There are churches that have done, the RF, the radio transmission over your radios in your cars. There are those that drive up communion. Trust me when I tell you, I have studied this. The staff has studied this. We have studied every possibility out there, and we just feel like this way in which we're moving forward is the right way to go. So yes, we have thought about outside, but we don't feel like it's the right answer for us here in the Northeast.
The fairgrounds would have been awesome.
Yeah.
It wasn't even an option for us, like you said. But also just to add to that, we're seeing people watching that have not come to the building before. We're seeing people watching out of the area. And as awesome as an outdoor worship would have been for a little while for those who are there, it would have been really difficult to do our online piece well. And so it would have been basically prioritizing only the people who could make it in person, and kind of forgetting or leaving behind those who have to watch online. So to do it well both ways, we kind of had to wait till we could be back here. So when are we actually back here for worship?
Yeah, so the 14th of June, we will be starting in-person services. So that's not this Sunday, but the following Sunday, which I think is a reasonable amount of time. We're going to have an 8:30 service in the morning and an 11 o'clock service, which is different than the 9 and 5:30 that we were having before. Here's the reason why. We want to keep in the mornings for a little bit just so that we can have cleaning and regiment and sorting the whole thing out between services. We also recognize that we need to kind of maximize the amount of time, at least for a little while. That's why I've gone to 8:30 and not 9 and 11. It's 8:30 and 11 because we want to have enough time to be able to clean all the seats, all the area, the floors, the doors, every kind of thing that we could possibly clean. We want to get it cleaned and ready for the next service. And so we also didn't want to push it out into the evening. We thought that 8:30 and 11 are the proper times. At this point, be patient. It's going to change again as soon as we start to process through this. And as I talk to other churches that are open, they've already discovered that some truths about opening as a church, and one of them is that maybe it's not an hour service. Maybe it's 45 minutes or 50-minute service, and then we could probably go back to maybe 9 and 11 or 9 and or 8:30 and 10 or something like that. So those are kind of what we're thinking about. So again, it's not this Sunday, but the Sunday after on the 14th of June, and I think it'll be an exciting time for us. We have the room set up. I'm not sure if you can see it. You probably can't. But we have seating in the gymnasium here for 150. And they're 6 feet apart, all of the chairs. So they're set in families. So there's a family of 3 down here, a family of 4, a family of 6, a family of 4, 2, whatever else throughout this place. And so what we're going to do is we're going to open up to 120 people. with maybe the potential of visitors coming. Right now, the numbers are kind of awkward. First-time guests to church in opening for churches that have done online well is about a 10% boost. And so we want to be prepared for that and say, you know what, if you're able to come, we're going to have you sign up for 120 people for the 8:30 or the 11 o'clock service, and then we'll have a 30-person space for those that would potentially come as guests or visitors to our church. And so, did I miss anything?
I don't think so. It's good.
Okay.
What precautions and things have we done here where we feel that we're ready now to safely welcome people back?
I'll let you field that one. That's a good question. So what precautions have we done?
Everything's been cleaned better than it ever has. There are things that have been ordered to make it safer for people coming in, where surfaces and handles don't even have to be touched. Basically, we've got in the bathrooms, there's now touchless paper towel. We're working on touchless sinks. There will be the touchless hand sanitizer stations at all of the doors. So a lot of stuff has been done. Some of it that has been ordered has taken a while to get here, and that is something that has weighed into our decision on when to finally open. But we think we have a lot of things in place already to safely bring people back. And we also have a plan for kind of how people will enter. Is that something you want to talk about here with this one?
Yeah, we can do that. So the way this will go, when you pull up, we will be checking your temperature. If you're concerned about that, it will be through the radar of the head. There's other options.
Yeah.
We talked about those, but we think the old thermometer as we shoot people with the radar in the head is probably the best option for the church. But anyways, as you get out of your car, and again, it's just to kind of help you. This is going to be an area that could be kind of a frustration for somebody. If your temperature or anybody in your vehicle's above 101.4, we're going to ask you not to come in. And you can say, well, yeah, I would know if I'm sick. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that that's always true, particularly with temperatures. I know I don't. I'm like, well, I don't feel well, and maybe the last thing I do is check my temperature. So we're just going to do that as a precaution. That'll be the first phase of it. We're also going to ask you to arrive, and as you get out of your car, as you're making your way from the car to the front doors, just put masks on. If you don't have a mask, we'll have a mask provided for you. We have some ladies in the church that have done an awesome job of making masks, and so we'll have some masks available for you. When you get in the doors that'll be open, you will have your opportunity to have your hands sanitized, and then you will be ushered or escorted to the seats. So if you come with a family of 4, the Schultz family shows up, there's a seating over here for 4. You will be put in those seats for 4. Once you arrive in your seats, feel free to take your masks off or leave them on, whatever you'd like to do, whatever you feel most comfortable doing. You'll be seated in the front. We will have offering boxes at every exit when you come in and when you leave. If you want to do that, we would prefer that you continue going online, because that is the best thing for us as a church, and it's also the most cleanly. So after that, we'll have the worship service. At the end of the service, you will be released by your seat. So an usher will come forward and say, you can go out this door, you can go out that door. And the reason we're doing that is because we don't want to have groups of people that are kind of standing in line and have the 6-foot, roll as we're getting out. So we're going to usher you out the doors, and the way out, again, is the offering box. We'll have another chance for you to sanitize on the way out, and you'll have your mask on as you leave. And then once you get outside, that's where the fellowship can happen. You can safely socially distance amongst yourselves and have some time. We will have a door open the other side if you want to come in. There's a new door that was put in by the cafe. If you want to come in for coffee, there'll be coffee available. That's up to you. If not, if you want to stand out there and have some fellowship time, that's up to you. If you decide you want to get in your car and you don't want to see anybody, that's up to you. So the idea is to make it as seamless as we can, and also to make it so safe that it just feels comfortable. Now, the question is, will it always be like this? I don't think so. It's going to relax itself as we learn more. It's going to change as we learn more, and we'll figure out and we'll work with you and we'll communicate for you exactly the changes as we go forward. But that's kind of the ways in which it's been set up. We've also taken a tremendous amount of precaution. I think that every surface in the building, except for the gymnasium, has been repainted. The floors have been completely sanitized and cleaned. The bathroom have been repainted. The whole place has had a makeover for a singular purpose, because we want it to be clean, to feel clean, to just be a place where people can come and feel very safe. And that's one of our challenges during these 13 weeks, this season of life. And so yeah, that's kind of the precautions we've made, and that's also kind of what it'll be like when you show up here. From the temperature, to the sanitation, to the masks, to the seats, to the masks, to the sanitation, and then out of the door. And we're hoping that you will have fellowship in the parking lot, as I look forward to seeing you. I can't wait for next week. I can't wait for the 14th, and I'm excited about that.
Is it Donut Sunday?
We are very cautious about the food. We're not doing Donut Sunday for a while. Rather, we're going to potentially have prepackaged food. So we'll have that available, and people will be handing it out to you, so that we're not touching each other's germs or having lines formed. We'll just take care of that on the way out the door. And if you want a prepackaged cookie, we'll have the cookies prepackaged for you, and you can take those with you. Also, when it comes to communion, it's a question that we've gotten as well. It's been a long time since we've had communion. We have purchased the pre-made cups with the juice as well as the wafer in it, and in July, the first Sunday in July, we'll have our first communion together, and we look forward to that. And we also will have that done, so we're not coming forward and sharing the same cup or the same bread. So we've tried to think through as much of this as we can to try and alleviate the precautions. The interesting thing is, there are those who are like, why are we doing all this stuff? I'm not coming back if I don't have a mask. I'm not coming back if I don't have to wear a mask. I'm not coming back if I have to get my temperature taken. I'm not coming back. I hope you'll reconsider that mindset. And if you ask me where I am on it, I'm not concerned about wearing a mask. I'm not concerned about my temperature being taken. I'm not concerned about contracting COVID-19. But I know that others are, and so I want to be respectful of that, and I want to do my part to help others to feel comfortable. And that's really important. I know you all have stories. I have a story. We were in, I guess we were in Lowe's 2 weeks ago. It was on a Saturday, and Brooke and I were in there getting some things for like flowers and such. And we were in line, and we were standing in the space there where it says, 6 feet apart. We were there, and some guy comes by and he yells, 6 feet, and he yells at me, and I am standing 6 feet. And I had this desire, and it was clearly a fleshly desire, to take off my mask and begin following him around the store. I didn't. But that was what I wanted to do, only because I was standing 6 feet. I was doing what I was supposed to do. I was wearing a mask. I was doing all the stuff that has been offered to us, and I still got yelled at. So the right answer, though, is to just be patient with people and recognize that, it might not be a burden for you. It might not be a struggle for you. You might not want to wear the mask. You might not want to have your temperature taken. You might not want to, and I get it. But if that helps one or two people to come back, well, then we're going to do that for a little while until we can figure out the right process moving forward.
Are we 6 feet here?
No, but we rode together here.
Yeah, we're probably all right.
And our kids played together.
So we've talked mostly just about how to come back. When is the building opening? But as you said right at the beginning, the church never closed. What have we learned? Because there's been opportunities in this too, not just, this sounds so far like our whole thing the entire time that we've been here is how do we get back open, how do we get back open? But we've seen an opportunity. What are some of the things we've learned through this stay at home and all of the online church service stuff?
Well, maybe I'll ask you to join me. I'll go first and you can jump into that. I got to tell you, I don't know about you, but I went through phases of frustration, anger, bitterness, sadness, quiet, all these emotions. But when I was able to kind of process and have been able to process what has happened, there's been some really amazing things for the church. And I think sometimes it's very easy for us to have blinders on and to be focused on ourselves and how we're feeling and the frustrations we're experiencing, instead of seeing the opportunity that God could be using this circumstance. He could be using this circumstance to bring others to him. One of the neat things for us is, the online presence. We're still learning how to do that. Andy preached this last Sunday for me while I was away. And it's different. It's an awkward, miserable feeling. And when you're done, you're kind of like, okay, there's no emotional connection. It's just really hard to do that. But what we've discovered in this online presence is that there are people in our community who have never really have never come to our church, and maybe not gone to any other churches, who are searching and who've wondered about Grace Ridge Church, who've wondered about, this message that we have. And the neat thing is, we know that they're watching, and we're excited that they're watching. We can kind of see that they're watching, and we recognize that they're there every week, and we're glad about it. We're excited about it. And I got to tell you, that's kind of, my heart has sort of been lifted up through that. What we also don't know is that we've had families that have called that want to be baptized, that have been watching online, and now they want to be baptized as adults. This last week, one of our staff walked through the salvation prayer with somebody who has been online and who wanted to know more about Christ and accepted Christ with one of our staff members. There's an online presence that enables people to come and be part of our church and experience our church without coming to our church. We've known for years that people will watch a sermon here or a service here before they come, and that's typical for guests. But this is different. It's sort of an online community that is being formed. The other thing I think that was really neat before I turn over to you is Emily has started an online group for some, are they all ladies? Yeah, some ladies in the church. Some of them live at distance from Honesdale, and others live in the area. And it's been really neat because there's a formation, a relationship, a connection that's been formed and that is continuing on. And I got to tell you, I don't know if that small group would have met together if they weren't kind of forced to online. And so we've just seen some really neat fruit come from this. And for me, that's an exciting piece. And I'll go on record of saying we used to be a church that had an online presence. And now I think we're kind of an online church with an in-person presence. And if that freaks you out, I think you're going to be just fine when you think about that a little bit. We want to be passionate about reaching out into our community in all different ways. And I've had thoughts of kind of having a staff member too kind of be responsible for our online pastorate. And to see the number of people that are watching and participating. And I think it's pretty exciting to see an opportunity like that for our church.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's absolutely an opportunity, and I think that's what I've learned is, when this started, I probably had the same hope as everybody else that it would end quickly. Just, okay, whatever's going on here, these stay-at-home orders, hopefully this is a couple weeks and we're back to normal. But we wouldn't have learned much of anything if that was the case. So as this went on, we had to figure out ways to do things differently. And Zoom and Microsoft Teams, any of the Google Meet, whatever you're using, any of those platforms that allow us to meet virtually, that's a tool that is a huge benefit that we weren't using because we didn't have to. Now, I know some of you said, well, when my in-person small group had to transition to that, I didn't like it, and I just stopped going, and I didn't like it either. But it allowed us to meet. Otherwise it was just, we can't meet then. So having Zoom available for elders, we've met a little more often as staff and elders just because it's simple. You do it at home. Small groups can do this. People who are out of the area can be a bigger part of our church. Like you said, before this, somebody could basically watch our sermons. If they're out of the area, if they couldn't make it to the building, that's about as much as they could do, watch our sermons. And now through Zoom and some of these new opportunities, they could be a fairly active member of our church without having to be close enough to Honesdale to be here every Sunday or for a small group meeting every week. So that's pretty cool for me, just the doors that have been opened by Zoom, and who knows how does that affect our youth programs, our children's programs, like what else does that allow us to do? We're still learning about that. And then also I would just say that it's a barrier has been removed. And if you've been here very long at all, you know we went through a lot of changes, and every single change was because we felt it was a barrier. So we're changing things to remove barriers so that as many people as possible can be reached with the gospel of Jesus Christ. And I think basically forcing people to have to be here to participate in a way was a barrier, and God removed that. It wasn't our choice. God removed that barrier, and we've seen just people who really are pretty active now in our church that we've never actually met in person. So as we do open up here June 14th, I'm excited to meet some of these people that right now I've just seen as a name commenting on Facebook. We're excited to see some of you guys and meet you in person if you can make it to church. So yeah, I guess those are the two big things that I've taken away from this.
I'd add one more. I think it's, we've also, it's interesting, this Vacation Bible School we're doing online. There's been some questions about this and why aren't we doing this or why aren't we doing that? We really don't know when kids are going to be okay with getting back together. The single demographic that isn't coming back to the church, we would think it's the older generation. It is not. Of all the churches that are opening up right now, the demographic that is missing still are the young families with children. A lot of the older folks are just done with this and they're ready to get on with their lives. The folks that are in that mid-range or mid-age are maybe ready to come back, but it's the younger families, and so we recognize that, and we've done our studies on this to discover that perhaps this might be the best venue for this year to kind of figure out how to do this well, and next Monday night there'll be a drive-through. They can grab their shirts, they can get all their stuff, and they'll have a video to go through on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday that I think is really neat and a good thing, and my Charlotte's excited about it, and we'll participate as a family with her. And so I think there's some things we've had to be creative and think differently. And one of the lessons we've learned is that we're kind of stuck in what has always been, and I feel like those churches that just can't wait to open up again are going to quickly, if they're not already, become irrelevant. Because they're not willing to look at what other options and what other possibilities are still out there. And so I really want to be open to what God could be doing in this circumstance to kind of reveal the opportunities that are before us, and so we can do things a little bit different. And so I'm actually pretty excited about coming back. I haven't been pushing this because there's been a lot to learn, and I've been learning a lot about myself. I've been learning a lot about the staff. I've been learning a lot about listening to our congregation, but also to realize that there's we keep saying the word new norm, but I think there's a new way that churches are going to be moving forward. And the reality is it's been coming over the last 10 years, and we've been moving in that direction, but in the last 13 weeks, it's been forced. And so we can kind of get a glimpse of what this looks like. It also has forced people who have said, I don't want to do technology, to have to say, I guess I have to do technology now. And I think that's a really healthy thing for our congregation and for our church moving forward.
What about the daycare?
Yeah, so we have not had daycare either, but our hope is to open on the 15th. And to open up for those families, and there's a whole set of precautions when it comes to that. Parents will no longer be allowed inside. Parents will be drop their kids off outside. We'll be checking their temperature. Someone asked me the other day, are you taking temperatures because you don't trust us? No. That's not it for me. For me, it's an ability, a quick check to make sure we're good. And when the staff comes in every day, we're checking our temperature to make sure we're good, because it's just a safety precaution, because I don't want to infect anybody else. When you think about this whole COVID thing, I never wanted to be the origin. I don't want to be the place where it's like, oh, Mike Lau brought this into Honesdale, right? Mike Lau did this. That's I'm not into that. So, we want to keep parents outside. We'll check the kids' temperature. We'll bring them in. We've added an extra staff for each of the classes, so that extra staff member is clean the whole time. There's a whole protocol for masks for kids and how that's going to work, and we're going to try and get them the different procedures. If they go out and the playground and they come inside, the whole playground has to be sanitized before the next group goes out. So there's a lot of details that go into this that we're working out, and I think Melissa will be getting the word out to the parents here very soon. I think tomorrow to go out to them and let them know that we will be opening up on the 15th with some precautions, and we'll lay all those things out so they can see exactly what what they're getting into.
All right. Yeah, it's quiet here. We miss your kids, those of you that are used to dropping off every day, and we're excited to be able to provide that again for those of you that finally are having a chance to get back to work. That's awesome for you, and we realize daycare is a huge part of allowing you to do that, so we want to do it. But just like the church, we want to do it right. We love your kids, we love our staff, and just want to make sure that they are safe and stay healthy and are well taken care of. So, did we miss anything there?
Do we miss anything? Anybody asking questions online that we have to try and answer? Super. So I just want also to open this last piece up. If you're concerned about something, or if you feel like you're not ready, it's good. We still want to provide the care. The online services are going to continue as they've been, and hopefully better. If you feel like you're ready to come back, great. If you need a little more time and you're going to come back, whatever you need, we want to be here for you. We do love you. It has been kind of a lonely time for ministry and staff. It's been a kind of I won't say a dark time, but a humbling time of just trying to sort out how best to serve and to minister to our people. And so we're grateful for the opportunity just to meet with you in formats such as this. So if you're excited, I hope. If you have questions, please send them to me. Shoot me an email. Shoot me a text. Let one of the staff members know. We gladly answer them. And if there's something we haven't thought of, that's awesome. But I would be hard pressed to figure out that all the webinars and stuff we're on, and all the things we're figuring out, a lot of churches have opened. We're following their instructions. We're following their guidelines. We want to be in line with proven things. And so we're hopeful then that we can be able to worship together as a church that is online, but also with an in-person presence. Do you have anything else?
I don't think so. I think we got it.
Anything you want to share funny-wise?
I got nothing right now.
Yeah, me either. We were working today and Todd fell off the scaffolding. That was kind of funny.
He was okay.
He's actually went to the hospital this afternoon, so we'll see how he is now.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
That's not as funny then.
It's not as funny. It's kind of lost its humor.
Paint went everywhere. That was funny.
I was most bitter that he ruined a gallon of paint.
Yeah. You bought the good stuff, too.
I did. I bought the good
That's
stuff.
The covers in one coat.
Yeah, and he dumped it. What's interesting was he wasn't on a plank. He was on the scaffolding. He lost his way a little bit. But we've had some fun with Todd, and we're hoping to open up the coffee shop soon, and we're excited about that as well. So we can't wait to get back to what this looks like moving forward, and we can't wait to see you. I'm going to close in prayer, and then we'll look forward to seeing you soon. Heavenly Father, during this season, during this time away, we know that our hearts have been energized and renewed, and we're excited about being together. Oh, how we've missed our brothers and sisters, how we yearn to spend time and to listen and to laugh and to study and to pray and to discern. And Father, I thank you for this congregation. I thank you for the elders and the staff and their faithfulness, their desire to be discerning and wise, and to listen and to have conversation and really to find out and figure out what's best for us as a church. Father, each church is different by size, by demographic, and we're no different. We're a church that seeks to honor and glorify you and to praise you. And we're so grateful for the lessons we've learned, and we're also excited about getting back together to praise you and to worship you as one body with one voice for your sake and for your glory. Lord, I am grateful for all the work that has gone into the last 13 weeks. I'm grateful for the responses by the congregation and the meals and the food and the words of wisdom and the letters and all the ways in which the church has cheered us on. And Father, I just want to be a church that is able to get back together at each individual's pace with a singular purpose, and that is to worship you, the one true God. We are grateful that you have kept us safe and healthy during this time, and we ask that you would prepare us as we get ready to worship this Sunday, and then again as we meet in person on the 14th. We ask that you be with our Vacation Bible School, and that our kids would have this awesome experience, and that they would grow in their knowledge and their wisdom and their faith, And Father, that we would just be a church that continues to make disciples through the precious name of your Son and our Savior, Jesus Christ, in whose name we pray. Amen. Have a good night, and we'll look forward to seeing you soon.